Alright guys, wow, I don't know what to say. You guys were really supportive yesterday. Over 1K likes yesterday on my video when I asked you guys if you wanted this arrested video today. So you definitely get it. And I just want to thank you guys a lot. I kind of regret doing the 600 likes and I'll do the video thing. But it's just a lot of people don't really bother to like a video these days. And video getting likes is the only way that your channel... Okay, well, it's not the only way, but it's the biggest way for your channel to grow, because people see that you've liked a video and then they go check out that person's channel and decide to subscribe or not. So if you guys can understand why likes now are important to video makers, it's because it's pretty much the sole reason for our channel to grow. So I do apologize for asking for them like I did. It's just most people these days are just CBA to hit the button, so I kind of had to ask for it. But anyways, let's get down to, I just really am blown away, guys. Over 1K likes, that's just amazing. Anyways, thank you so much. So let's get down to the video that you guys liked the video for yesterday, and I'll tell you the story. Okay, now the whole mega, that part of my life is a gigantic long story, obviously, that requires a series. But as far as the day that I ended up getting arrested, is kind of a 3-day thing. The first part of it started on a Friday after school. Now, of all the stuff that I was doing back then before I played RuneScape, this pissed me off that I got arrested for this for one main reason, that it was the most stupid thing in the world to get arrested for. Like, I've been doing these all year. Okay, it was a fight after school, right? And I had, let's see, my sophomore year or junior year, I had about 14 fights in the last 6 months of sophomore year to the summer to going into junior year. And it was just like, those weren't even a big deal, so I didn't think I would get arrested for one. But the only problem is when you have stupid friends, it just turns into something stupid. So anyways, I was there, and the school had already asked me, this is before the fight even happened, which I'll tell you about in a second. The school was already asking me and a couple of they were asking me questions, and then they asked a couple of my friends about me, brought them into the office. People were just telling me a whole bunch of shit, like the principal was calling people in the office, asking questions about me, doing investigation, all sorts of stupid shit because of some other stuff that was going on, which I'm not really going to talk about publicly on YouTube. But either ways, so they were asking me questions and all that kind of stuff about being involved with certain other people and things like that. So that was already going on, so I was already in a pissed off mood because the school was doing this investigation bullshit. So basically, Friday after school, I went to this I was going to go to this other fight, and then I decided just to go home because we didn't know if anything was going to happen. And, you know, high school fights are fun to go to just watch. You know, they're entertaining, millions of people show up, all that kind of stuff. So we went home, then we went to Burger King, and then we got a phone call. Oh, no, my bad. We went to Burger King, then we went home, then we got a phone call. So this was 3 years ago now? 2 years? 3 years? Somewhere around there. Beginning of my junior year of high school. So we went back to my house after Burger King, and then we got a phone call. They're like, hey, this fight's going down, blah, 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 blah. And we're like, let's just go watch. It'll be fun to watch, blah, blah. So we mob up to the fight. There's probably 7 or 8 of me and my friends that we were all just kicking it at my house after school. And so we mob up, and we see these 2 kids about to fight. So they start fighting. And then that's going on. Some old guy pulls up and he's like, calling the police. So we moved the fight somewhere else. And, you know, we're just sitting there watching it. And, I don't want to use real names. John Doe, let's call him John Doe. My friend John Doe, his friend, one of his friends was in the fight. That's one of the main reasons we were going. I didn't know the kids who were fighting, but, my friend knew the kid that was fighting. So he's like, yo, come with us. So anyways, John Doe's friend asked me to ref the fight just to make sure they didn't go too far, because it was a freshman versus junior fight. The kid who my friend was friends with was the freshman, and then the other kid he was fighting was a junior. So it was a 2 years difference fight, and they asked me to ref the fight. So I was like, no big deal, alright, so I'll just basically, because I knew the junior was going to win, it wasn't even a fair fight, so I was just like, you know, I'll just tell him to stop or pull him off or whatever when they start fighting. So, or when the kid says he's done, because, you know, high school fight, you're not supposed to go to, you kill somebody. It's just, you know, when somebody says quit or they're done, then they lose the fight. So they start fighting, and then the junior, in like the first 10 seconds of the fight, just wipes him out, knocks him on the floor, and starts hitting him again. And the freshman fell onto the rocks that they were at, and they were fighting in a grass area, but it was surrounded by rocks, and he fell onto them with his arm, and it sliced his arm open from like his elbow halfway up his arm, and he was bleeding everywhere. And he was just like, stop, 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 I'm done, please stop, you win, blah, blah, blah. And the junior wasn't stopping, so I ran up and I grabbed his shoulder. I'm like, hey, he said he's done, you win, get off him. And he then proceeded to try to punch me in the nuts. Yeah, luckily though, he just hit my leg. But as he went, he punched me, hit my leg. And in that split second, I made the decision that I should knee him in the face for trying to punch me, and I was just trying to tell him that the fight was over. So I did that, and then I was gonna let it go, and then he got up and he started like trying to square up with me. So I was like, oh my gosh, this is ridiculous. I didn't even come here to fight, and he swings at me. I freaking block it with my left hand, and then I just hit him in the face. He drops, I turn around to walk away, and then all of a sudden I hear, oh shit, and I turn around, and one of my friends who I'd come with was freaking kicking him. He ran up and kicked the dude in the face and was sitting there just kicking him. And I'm like, yo, shit. And I freaking told my friend to stop. And then I'm like, seriously, guys, what is going on here? And then the kid who he freaking kicked and I hit got up again and was like starting to square up. I'm like, hey, just relax, just relax. And my other friend freaking ran up and hit him in the face. I'm like, guys, stop. We're not supposed to be jumping somebody here. I'm not getting in trouble for this bullshit. It's a high school fight. Anyways, so some lady in a white Mustang, it was a white Mustang, I think. It was a white car, but I'm pretty sure it was a Mustang, if I remember correctly. Saline Mustang, actually. And she's like, well, I'm calling the police, blah, blah, because we're in a public park, and of course people always stop and don't mind their own business. So anyways, she's like, I'm calling the police, blah, blah. So everyone's like, all right, let's dip. So everyone runs to the car, dips out, stuff like that. Anyways, I hear later that night that that kid's parents are looking for me. So I'm like, oh my gosh, this is ridiculous. So I call him up, and I'm like, hey, look. Do you want to meet up or something and talk? Let's go to Starbucks. So I went and got Starbucks, and I was sitting outside Starbucks, and the kid's mom walks up, and the kid's dad walks up, and the kid walks up. And his mom is like flipping the fuck out on me as I'm sitting there like screaming, cussing, all this shit. And the dad tells you like, hey, relax, let me talk to him. And I told the dad exactly what happened. And the kid verified my story with his dad. And yeah, I thought everything was cool. They're like, well, you know what, we see what happened there, so I don't think there's any need for you to get in trouble and press charges, all that kind of shit. So I'm like, okay. So that was Friday, and that's how my Friday night ended. I just went home, chilled with some friends after that. Monday, I go to school in my third hour class. I think it was pretty much my third hour class. So hold on, it was 10 in the morning. It was in the morning. Okay, I'm at school. And I get called down to the office, and I'm like, oh my gosh, what is this? And the cop is there, and he's like, come in here, and because they have the little security office, and he goes and he interviews me, and he just asked me a whole bunch of questions about what happened and stuff like that, and I told him the complete truth about what happened, because like I wasn't in the wrong there. He swung on me, so I swung back, and then my idiot friends decided that it would also be fun for them to hit him because they were bored. Of course, I didn't tell him that. I told him that after I hit him, I tripped over him and I was looking the other direction. So I told him all the truth about my stuff, obviously, and that I'm not going to snitch on my friends. But I did that, and he's like, okay, well, blah, 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 just go sit down back in the office, and I'll talk to you again later. And I'm like, well, what's going on? Am I under arrest or what? And he's like, I don't know yet. So I'm like, all right, fine. So I go and sit in the office, and I'm waiting for about an hour, and then he comes out. He's like, stand up. I'm like, oh my gosh. And he puts the cuffs on me, empties my pocket, stuff like that. And then I look in the other room, and one of my friends who also went to my school, who was also hitting him, who also was one of the kids who hit the kid, was getting put in cuffs too. And they had been bringing kids in, I guess, all morning asking who did it, and everybody snitched on us and said, you know, what happened. Even though, again, I still think it's kind of bullshit for what happened because I told them to stop jumping him. It wasn't a plan to jump him or anything like that. It was... The thing with me and him, if it would have stayed like that, was legit. But the fact that my friends started hitting him after I was done kind of screwed it because they counted it as getting jumped. So for that, they gave us an ag assault. Me and my friend both an ag assault. And because of the investigation I already told you guys about that was going on, now for those of you who live in America, an ag assault is a class 6 felony. But remember, I was under 18, so it was still juvenile. So now that I'm 18, my record is completely clean, which is really good because obviously I don't want a dirty record. Make it hard to get jobs and all that kind of bullshit. So, anyways, where was I at? Okay, yeah, the already investigation that was going on with me. A class 6 felony is not a big deal. You know, you're just looking at probation and that kind of stuff. But everything else that was going on, they decided to, and like I told you, I can't get into too much detail on YouTube, on public shit about what was going on. But they gave me a class 3 felony assisting a criminal street gang. And I know that kind of sounds bad or stupid to some of you guys right now. And I can't really tell you, like I said, the story about that, but it was a class 3 felony. So I didn't know that I had the class 3. All I knew about was the ag assault until they brought me down. They were at the processing center for about 2 hours where you just sit in this little cell, which is like 2 feet wide. And I was all cramped up and I was just sitting against the wall. And we were there for about 2 hours. And then they brought us to the actual juvie down in my state. And I was sitting in the little isolation cell before like they have you get dressed and that kind of shit. And I asked the dude, I was like, so do I get to go home tonight? What's going on? Because a lot of times when you're a juvenile and you get arrested, they'll release you into your parents' custody until your court date and stuff like that. And then you don't know what happens there. And he's like, well, let me print out your sheet. If it's just that ag assault, then you probably will be able to, because you have no previous record here with us, which luckily I'd never gotten caught for anything before. They're like, all right, so I'll print out your sheet. So they go, they look at the sheet, and then they're like, nope, you have the Class 6 ag and a Class 3 assistant criminal street gang, and Class 3s are pretty serious, so you're going to have to stay here for at least the night, and then you have the meeting with the judge in the morning to see if you'll be released in the custody of your parents. And I'm like, oh shit, what the fuck is the Class 3 for? Yeah, I was like, oh shit, what the fuck is the Class 3 for? I confused myself because I said 3-4, and then I thought I said the number 4, but then I realized I said 4. Sable, shut up! I opened the door and let you in here. Sorry. And he's like, I don't know, I just processed the paperwork. I'm like, oh my gosh, like freaking out, because a Class 3, you can get a year, which I find out later because I didn't know exactly what you get for it. But you can get a year in juvie for a Class 3. So anyways, we had the meeting with the judge, and apparently they're like, and the prosecution is like, we agree with the defense that he can go home into custody of his parents due to having no previous record, and then he's got court on blah 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 date. So I got a PO and stuff like that, and lawyer talked to them, and my lawyer, it was a public defender, so that was what's freaking me out too. So I talked to my public defender, and he's like, yeah, you know, for the Class 3 assisting criminal street gang, you can get like a year in juvenile detention for that. I'm like, oh my gosh, this isn't even funny. Oh, by the way, guys, from then to my court date, I couldn't leave the house, so except for school, and I got kicked out of, I'll go into that story in a minute, because this was all happening at the same time, because I got arrested on a Monday. So anyways, I go back. Anyways, basically my PO, not PO, was it? My public defender, sorry. My public defender told me that I could almost get a year, so I'm freaking out. Anyways, so in between that, we have a meeting with the school board down at the superintendent's office or whatever, and we have a meeting. They ask me what happened. I gave them the story. And then they're like, all right, well, and it was supposed to be a 10-day suspension, and they're like, all right, well, we actually think because of everything that's been going on with you at school the last year, all the fights that we know you have that you haven't been caught for because we've seen them on YouTube. Yeah, they used to be on YouTube, but after I got arrested and they still had the investigation going on, I told everybody to delete them off their YouTubes because I didn't want any evidence out against me. And like, we've seen everything, we know about stuff, all the stuff we hear about you, we just don't think you're a good influence at our school. We may think we might just have to ask you to not come back to our school, but luckily one of the principals on the staff was kind of like a friend of mine. He was actually a friend of mine's dad, and he was the coolest principal that we've ever had at our school. And he's like, Chris, and then my mom, he's like, I'm gonna ask, can I ask you guys to wait outside for a little bit while we talk? We waited, we come back in, and the principal that I guess, had talked to them, and they decided to only suspend me for 6 months instead of expelling me forever. From the school district. So I ended up going to an alternative school for 6 months while I was still kind of locked in my house and couldn't go anywhere else. And then went to the court date, and apparently because of the no previous record, my public defender is actually kind of good. I ended up just getting probation for that. And then they told me, they're like, you know, you really shouldn't be getting probation for this. You should be getting more time, but, you know, do community service, all that kind of shit, and you'll be good. If you get caught if you do anything at all while you're on probation, you're going to go to juvie for at least a year, or probably until you're 18. So I was like, oh shit. So that kind of just, Sable, shut your mouth. So that kind of just scared the shit out of me, and I was like, all right, because basically, because of the ongoing investigation, I had to get rid of a lot of things that were going around. I had to stop talking to a lot of people. I had to stop letting a bunch of different things be at my house. It was a really complicated time. And I started, looking up in the law library online, stuff like that, all the different sentences and stuff you could get for the kind of things that I had, and some shit was freaking me out. Like, when I looked it up, and then I realized that I could get anywhere from 5 to 10 years if I had gotten caught for some of the other stuff that was going on and I was doing. It just kind of made me go like, maybe I should look into finding a few new hobbies, but I still wasn't completely convinced. The thing that kind of changed my mind was about 2 weekends later. I was sitting in my room on my laptop, and I just started playing RuneScape again. But anyways, my dad was like, yo, Chris, come on the TV. Aren't these a bunch of your friends? And I ran to the living room because I was like, what do you mean? And I looked on the TV, and they just did a roundup. Remember I told you guys about the investigation that was going on me before, and a bunch of my friends, stuff like that? Apparently the police caught them doing something and had a specific roundup. 2 of them went in for 25 plus, and then the rest went in from 15 to 25 years, and that's prison. So that final thing just absolutely scared the shit out of me, because I was like, wow, if I had been there, first of all, that would have completely ruined my whole life. And stuff like that. When you see something like that happen and people you know go into jail for anywhere from 15 to 25 to life, that absolutely just was like, you know what, I am really done with this. It's not even funny anymore. And I just dropped most of my contacts from then. Stopped talking to people. I left on good terms with a lot of people. I was just like, you know, I'm getting out of stopping this and just going on finding something else to do. And that's pretty much how I got started with RuneScape, is I decided to leave that life and come to this one. And then about 5 or 6 months later, I would start getting started on YouTube, or I'd start getting, what the fuck, man? I would start getting, yeah, I guess that's the only way to say it. I would start getting started on YouTube and starting to make videos and stuff like that. And that's how it kind of led to this part of my life. Now, yeah, I guess if you guys have any questions, feel free to post them, and I'll do my best to answer, or something like that. I really enjoyed talking to you guys. I'm sorry I had to leave out a lot of specific information, but I'm sure you guys can understand there's some things that I really just can't say on YouTube. You guys did ask for the story. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of trolls saying, oh, you're just posting this because you want us to feel sorry for you, or you want to sound hard or something like that, blah, blah. I have no reason to. My videos are doing fine before. You guys asked for this story, and I wanted to post it and tell you kind of how I got into YouTube and some different things about my life before that. And I guess that's pretty much everything I have to say is, yeah, and you know, I'm not afraid to admit it either. I got scared out of the life and the shit I was doing before. Like I said, you know, if you were doing something and people you knew, friends you knew, people you were seeing all the time, every weekend, freaking half the days during the week, and you see someone go down and ruin their whole life with 15 plus years in prison, that absolutely scared the fuck out of me, and I'm not ashamed to say it. So anyways, thank you guys for listening. I hope you liked this video. I hope you guys are liking the fact that all these videos I put out for this series especially are long too, and I'm putting time into it. If you do me a gigantic favor and give it a thumbs up and or favorite or something like that, like I told you in the beginning of the video, it does mean a lot, and it does help my channel grow. Hope you guys are enjoying this series, and what I want you guys to do next is post a comment down below on what you want the next episode to be about. Probably next episode will be Monday or Tuesday, so yes, post your comment for what the next series should be about, and I will try and make a video about that. If you guys post a whole bunch of different comments and I can't decide on one, I'll just pick one. So thank you guys for listening, and I'll talk to you later.